Hey everybody, I'm Nate, and my wife and I, Jess, own Executive Home Care of Northeast Dallas. And I wanted to take a minute to tell everybody about the guide model, which is a series of benefits that specifically benefits caregivers for those who suffer from dementia. I just want to take a few minutes to explain what guide is, why it exists, who qualifies, and then if you do end up, interested in the model afterwards, I'll explain how you can reach out to us and potentially access your benefits. So the guide model essentially is a whole series of benefits that are designed to surround the family caregiver of the person who's suffering from dementia with a heck of a lot of support. And historically, that's not been the case. And Medicare realized that. And so when they were looking at this problem back in 2022 and 2023, they realized just how bad it was. At that point, they were realizing there was about 6.7 to 7 million Medicare beneficiaries that were suffering from dementia. At this point, it's about 8. And they actually estimate that that's drastically underdiagnosed. And so what we're thinking based on the numbers is that there's actually about 20 to 25 million Medicare beneficiaries who have dementia, and we're just not sure where they all are because they're not diagnosed yet. And so the problem with that is, if you know anything about memory care here in the United States, you realize that we can't build memory care communities fast enough. We can't train enough professional memory caregivers. There's not enough neurologists out there to cover and support how many folks already have dementia, let alone how many are coming. So Medicare looked at this situation and they identified that the key problem here is the lack of support for the family caregiver. And at the same time, they also realized that the family caregiver is really the linchpin to the whole memory care infrastructure in the United States. More than 55% of people who have dementia, their primary caregiver is their spouse or their sibling or their child. And those are the folks who are getting the least amount of support. And so that's where Guide came from. And so what Medicare did is they said, let's build this series of 5 supports, these 5 benefits for that family caregiver so that they are supported and that they have sustainable capability to care for their loved one. And so what that looks like for folks who qualify is, first and foremost, they get what we call a dementia care navigator. That's like their person. So when you get a dementia care navigator, you have a person's name, you have a person's phone number, and that person is who you reach out to when you're trying to navigate your benefits or just dementia care in general. But let's say it's 3 o'clock in the morning on New Year's Day. Your dementia care navigator is not going to be available, but there's still somebody there who can help you. So there's 24/7 access to clinical memory care professionals. So if you're supporting your loved one and they're struggling and it's just a difficult situation, it's maybe water you've never navigated before, you can call that support line and there's going to be somebody there. It's a human being who will be able to walk you through that situation. And so just knowing that there's somebody there that you can always reach out to is a huge relief to family caregivers, right? Another one, honestly, is training and education. So memory caregivers who are professionals, they do get training and education. Family caregivers don't. That's never really been a thing. But they have to provide just as much care, if not more, than professional memory caregivers do. And so Medicare decided to start providing this training and this education for family caregivers so that they were much more effective in their roles, right? They were doing things that were de-escalating situations with their loved ones, that they weren't trying things or using techniques that weren't working and raising the frustration and the stress level for everybody. And so with that education and that training, these family caregivers are becoming much more capable and their stress level is just going way, way, way down. But even with that, people still need a break. They need respite. And so one of the things that Medicare threw in here, which I think is just amazing, is respite care. And what that looks like is usually families will qualify for about 80 hours of respite care. And so that's a professional memory caregiver coming into the home and caring for that loved one to give that family caregiver a break, so they can get rest, so that they can go run errands or do the things that they want to do, social activities or anything like that, And it's not a cop out. And that's something that I think a lot of people feel. They feel some guilt initially when we tell them about this. But what I'd want to tell people is that we're doing that, and Medicare is doing that so that you can be the best caregiver possible for your loved one. And you can't do that if your batteries are drained. And every single dementia family that I talk to, I can see it. I can see it in those caregivers' eyes. They are tired in their soul. All these things together just really, I think, change the equation overall for family caregivers of those suffering with dementia. And I think one of the best things about this whole situation with the guide model is that these benefits they're covered by Medicare. So in order to qualify for the guide model, the person who has dementia, they have to be on traditional Medicare, right? They can't have a Medicare Advantage plan or anything like that. They also can't be on hospice, and they can't be a permanent resident at a skilled nursing facility, right? So if they're there temporarily, that's totally fine. But if they've been institutionalized in a skilled nursing facility, then unfortunately they wouldn't qualify. And so realize I didn't mention VA benefits. I didn't mention long-term care insurance. I didn't mention any kind of limitations on wealth or income, and that's because they don't exist. It doesn't matter if they're a veteran who's receiving VA benefits. It doesn't matter if they're receiving some other kind of state benefits, if they're wealthy, if they're not wealthy, if they own their own home, if they have a high income or a low income. It doesn't matter. That help is there for all the families. And so we're doing our part here at Executive Home Care of Northeast Dallas, and I'm just really encouraged to see other agencies across the country doing the same. So if you're here in the Dallas area, you please reach out to us if you have any questions. I'm not a pushy salesman type guy. My real objective with Guide is to educate families so that they understand what these benefits are and how they can help. But then I let families make their own decision. It's got to be what's best for them. But if you are interested and you're in the Dallas area, you can call us. Our agency phone number is 469-314-6465. And you're also welcome to visit us at the link below. That's our website. We'd love to hear from you, and I'd be happy to talk you through the guide model and its benefits and help you determine if it's right for you or for your loved one or maybe a family member or a friend who's caring for somebody with dementia. Thanks so much, guys.